Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. This is Nahman with the DC Camp back for another video. And boy, oh boy, did you people get played. But first and foremost, Kyle Halal Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Bahashem Rika Hakwadash, and of course, double honors go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. I'd like to also send out salutations to the fellow Akim that are out there on the highways and the byways. And on top of that, they post numerous videos. Alright. Furthermore, spreading the world around the four corners of the earth. There's really no excuse now. None. Regardless, you get marked, whether for the good or for the bad. But in any case, what I meant when I opened up, I started to go into how you all have been played. And the thing is, both parties were in on it. A lot of you still don't realize that yet. All right. And what she's going to go into here is what they're planning on doing. And you have to wonder, as she's going to go speak about, is why aren't these people that are holding these town hall meetings, why do they appear to be unshaken, not worried? Why is that? Is it because they have something up their sleeve? They have something in reserve? What could that be? And that's what this video is going to go into. All right. Because a lot of you said, well, we got something for these motherfuckers. Midterms coming up. Okay. Okay. Still hadn't learned.
You absolutely right. Because if
First and foremost, though, almost missed it. I was looking for this earlier. I like to keep this, where I can get to it real quick. But I noticed the 1978 that's popping up more. But in any case, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips to balance in favor of fair use. All right, because I'm not profiting from this, nor do I intend to. All right, it's just strictly as for teaching and news reporting. All right. Oh, what the hell am I? All right, there we go. All right, here we go.
you absolutely right. Because if I know she's up for re-election, then you know she knows she's up for re-election. And for her to continue to be mocking and antagonizing and talking down condescendingly to her constituents, she has no fear about not being re-elected in 2026. All of those people that were at her town hall, they were expressing their displeasure with her. How in the world can she be so confident to come back and continue to mock them and antagonize them and not be afraid that she could lose re-election? And so when I thought about it, I'm like, all of these Republicans seem to have no fear about not being reelected. So I went on over to Mildred, and I had a conversation with Mildred because I remember reading in Project 2025 about them messing around with voting. They were planning to do some things to suppress the vote. We've been watching them put some things in place on the state level to suppress the vote nationwide, to suppress the minority vote. So I went over to Mildred. I said, Mildred, what does Project 2025 say about suppressing the minority vote in the United States? Here are some things that Mildred came back with. Number one. Number one, weaken enforcement of voting rights laws. So what they are wanting to do, and what some states have done, they have done away with weekend voting altogether. early voting. They are trying to reduce early voting times, and they are trying to diminish the authority of the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. We've been watching Donald Trump do exactly that. I don't even think there is a civil rights division within the Justice Department anymore. So they are enacting all of this right now, and it's straight out of the Project 2025 handbook. Mildred says they want to criminalize voting errors. We've been seeing this, right? They're getting rid of the Civil Rights Division, but in its place, they are putting people in place to file criminal charges against voters who make errors when it comes to voting, and that's to intimidate people and keep them from even trying to vote. If you remember, Ron DeSantis did this sting operation down in the state of Florida where he went and he arrested a bunch of black people who voted because they thought they had received their right to vote back. They had some issues with criminality and stuff like that, but they thought they had received their right to vote back. I forget the proper term for it. I'm telling you, menopause with the brain fog, that shit is absolutely real. I'm always not able to remember this or that. I can't remember the proper term for it. But he went around the state and he arrested black people, and he did it publicly. We had it all over the news because he wants to intimidate other black people. He don't want them to even think.
See, all this, despite all the menopause talking, all that shit, whatever. But the thing is, for those of you that had forgot, yes, that made the news. All right, people who were told that their voting rights were going to be reinstated after they had done a stint in prison. Well, it appears that it was a setup. And, like they say in politics, don't let a good situation go to waste. Well, again, but here's the thing. We keep telling you, let me get a description. Why do you put your trust? In fact, I'm going to get into AMP. Why do you keep putting, hold on. Why do you keep putting your trust in people that fucking hate you, that hate us? All right, let's see. Here we go. And it says, oh man, how did that happen? Sorry about that. Wow. Okay, here it is. Let's see. No, it's still showing John. Hold on. All right, here we go. There we go. Judah warned against Egyptian alliance. See, we've never gotten a fair shake here. Why would you expect it now after all these hundreds of years? All right. Whoa. And it says, judgment is coming to the rebellious children, declares the Most High Yahweh, who carry out a plan, but not mine, and make an alliance by pouring out a libation, but not of my spirit, in order to add sin to sin, who proceed down to Egypt, substitute America for that, without consulting me, to take refuge in the stronghold of Pharaoh, and to take shelter in the shadow of Egypt or America. Therefore, the safety and protection of Pharaoh will be your shame, and the refuge in the shadow of Egypt your humiliation and disgrace. Yeah, that's a bit of humiliation there. You go thinking you can vote, and next moment you're in handcuffs. All right. Let's go to the next chapter. Let's see if it's going to let me do that. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Woe, judgment is coming. Again, seems a repeat, right? To those who go down to Egypt for help, who rely on horses and trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong. All right, that's the problem with Jake. They enter Catholicism because they see all the glitz and glamour, or even Islam, because they thinking they're going, sharing that prosperity that Ishmael has. All right. Nope. All right. And in horsemen, because they are strong, but they do not look to the Holy One of Israel, nor seek and consult the Most High, Yahweh. Yet he is also wise and will bring disaster. All right. And does not retract his words, but will arise against the house of evildoers and against the helpers of those who do evil. And that again applies to Jake too, because he just loves to be under the oppressor's wings instead of the Most High's. Continuing on.
Don't want them to even think about. He wants them to have a fear of going out to vote. Ron DeSantis, I remember I've said it on more than one occasion.
And to think, after all this shit our people went through, to get the voting rights bill and all that in the 60s, what was it for in the end? If they can just, with very much ease, take all that away. This is why you were never to put this is our enemy, God damn it. Scripture says, never trust thine enemy. That's Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, verse 10 on down through 18. If you can't figure who that's talking about, my goodness. And look, they're getting ready to, see, a lot of you all laughed at what they did to the Northern Kingdom, and a lot of them, they deserve that shit because they've been playing this, I want to be white game for decades. Actually longer than that. All right. And now they're crying and ballyhooing about, why is he doing us like this? He's racist. But you never once took our advice on saying, hey, we're here, but you just want to step all over us and disrespect us and accuse us of being lazy. And still nobody, now that I'm on that, thinking about that, nobody's brought up the fact that the Red Cross was down in Central America pointing these people the way. Who do you think was telling them all this shit? Oh, we're lazy. We don't have no more money for them. All the money's coming. Who do the Democrats? That's what I said. You all don't understand that both parties have been playing you. And especially with us, they're letting you know, hey, nothing for you, but for everybody else. It's a slap in the face. A punch in the face. This is what we really think about you. And you all, poor things, just pour all your heart and soul into trying to still, after all this time, win these people over. Wow. Talking about insanity.
Ron DeSantis, the state of Florida, is the test of Project 2025. The state of Florida and the state of Texas, they implemented a lot from the Project 2025 handbook.
Easily compare hotels to find your perfect somewhere.
Salaki.
Hotels.com.
Cole speaks Spanish and English, and I'm always so jealous because I took 4 years of Spanish in high school.
Texas, they implemented a lot from the Project 2025 handbook. There's more. Aggressive voter roll purges. Project 2025 advocates for granting the federal government access to state voter rolls, facilitating aggressive purging of voter lists. Such actions have historically led to the removal of eligible voters, disproportionately affecting minority communities. We've been watching all of these Republican states, one after the other, purging hundreds of thousands of voters from the voter rolls. We've watched how they employ different tactics to get people purged from the voting rolls. Here in the state of Georgia, any regular person can contest a person's right to vote, meaning they can say, I believe this person is, the address listed is not an actual home address. They need to come in and prove that they have the right to vote. Any regular person can do that. Contest another person's right to vote. And then that person has to go down and prove that they have a right to vote, have to go sit before a committee to prove that they have the right to vote. Also here in the state of Georgia, it was reported a couple of months ago that they were purging hundreds of thousands of voters from the voter rolls. So Georgia, make sure you're checking your voter status regularly. Other states, make sure you are checking your voter status regularly. It's in the Project 2025 handbook. Introduction of a citizen question in the census. Now, I haven't seen the new census report, but I know that Donald Trump was trying to put new questions onto the census, and that stuff was going before federal courts. I don't know if it ended up at the Supreme Court. Y'all let me know, but I've seen a portion of this trying to be put in action. Implementation of the SAVE Act. Y'all remember this? This was one of the first things that they started working on when Donald Trump won the election. Y'all remember this? I can't remember if it passed. I know that they were working on the SAVE Act. They implemented some other stuff. The SAVE Act was the reason why married women needed to be worried about their right to vote, because the license doesn't match the birth certificate, and you needed to make sure that you had a passport or you had to prove that you are a citizen in this country so that you would be able to vote. And that was going to affect mostly married women, because married women, their birth certificate does not match their driver's license, and their right to vote could be contested. This is what they are trying to do right now. Did it pass, y'all? I can't remember. Restructuring of the Department of Justice voting section. And that starts with getting rid of the Civil Rights Division. And that has already been completed. Under the current administration, the DOJ's voting section has shifted its focus from protecting voting rights to investigating alleged voter fraud. This realignment raises concerns about the potential targeting of election officials and voter registration groups, which could suppress efforts to increase voter participation. Collectively, these proposals could lead to reduced voter turnout because it's going to intimidate Black people and keep them from voting, because they don't want to have to deal with possibly being arrested or anything like that. They don't want no problems. All they want to do is cast their vote. But Republicans know what they're doing. Lead to reduced voter turnout among minority populations by introducing barriers to registration, increasing the risk of disenfranchisement through voter roll purges, and fostering an environment of fear around voting due to the criminalization of errors. Civil rights organizations, including the NAACP and the Thurgood Marshall Institute, have expressed alarm over these potential outcomes, and so on, and so on, and so on. Mildred says, in summary, while Project 2025 does not overly state an intent to suppress minority votes, the cumulative effect of its proposed policy could significantly hinder the ability of these communities to participate fully in the democratic process. Simply put, they don't want to come out and say that they're trying to suppress the vote. They just want to implement policies that will do just that. Period. Point blank. The end. This is why they are running amok in the Republican Party. Don't let them turn you around.
And there you have it. These pieces of shit are doing this out of fear. As we always say, well, as the scriptures say, Revelation 12:12, he knoweth he hath but a short time. All right. And these people that are pulling these strings, ultimately, in the background, the JOOs, see, all this is coming out. They've turned on their chief slaves, and I mean the Christians. And a lot of them still don't understand or even notice what the hell is going on. All these rabbis are coming out and saying that they're the enemy. Oh my goodness. We've kissed their ass. I mean, we've supported them for so long. Why? Okay, that's what you get. You know, especially Jake. But even with those die-hard white nationalists, those hardcore, you know, that did all this murder and all this on behalf of them folks, thinking that they're going to get some kind of reward from them. Meanwhile, the ones they were killing and maiming and all this, it turned out they're the real children of Israel. Boy, aren't they going to be in for a surprise. So that's it on this. I mean, you know, this comment right here, Trump said that if he won, people would never have to worry about voting ever again. Everybody forgot about that, right? During the campaign. I also think he has forgotten how resilient, whatever. You know, this guy's person that made this, the last part of that comment is, he's still thinking this shit, America's going to bounce back. Oh no. This is the closing curtain. Curtain call. All right. This is not only affecting black people, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be it. Hey, so until hey, we're in that season. You're gonna see more people bugging out. All right, so keep your head on a swivel here. Be circumspect. All right, so until the next video, hey, shalom.